Welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast. My name is Art, and I'm the host of the podcast. I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Cathy Jean-Francois, and she is a blogger. And her bio here says that she has suffered with depression long before she even understood what depression was. And in an effort to alleviate her suffering, she treated her depression with acupuncture, talk therapy, meditation, positive self-talk, exercise, and research to get a better understanding of what she was dealing with. She said she is proud to say she's found the perfect combination of treatments that helps her get through life. And she's also a blogger, and she's just finished writing a novel and is currently looking for an agent and is on the path to publication, hopefully here real soon. So, Cathy, welcome to the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast.
Thank you so much, Art, for inviting me and for introducing me. That was awesome.
Yeah, you bet. I came across your bio, and it sounded like you'd be a good fit here because I love talking about the writer's journey. And in some ways, you're still in the early stages of it as far as on the road to publication.
That's right.
But it sounds like writing is a big, important part of your life.
It is. It is. It's one of the things that I always go back to. It's my comfort. It's really my everything. If I'm not writing, I'm not quite happy. So I always go back to it.
I don't know. I'm not a published writer or anything, but I just find something comforting about getting my thoughts down on paper, whether they make sense or not. And I have no idea. But well, for folks who don't know you and are just getting to know you here, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
I was going to start off with what my job is, but I am an ELA teacher, English teacher for middle school students at a public school in New York City. And I actually enjoy what I do, but it does take a lot of my time with lesson planning and grading. And it just takes a lot of my time. But when I'm not doing that, I am either coming up with a new blog post for my blog, or I'm doing podcast interviews, which is always fun to do. And my blog is about my daily battle with depression, I guess you could say. Even long before I started the blog, I wrote a novel that's very many years in the making, I would say. I wrote a novel about a woman who was suffering with depression, and I based it on what I was going through, and it helped me overcome a lot of the feelings, a lot of these symptoms, a lot of the darkness that I was experiencing at the time. And I thought that this would be really an important message to share with other people, because I remember when I used to go through my depressive moments, I didn't understand what I was going through and why. And so I just felt that I was strange. People would tell me to get over it, and I would feel like, yes, that's right. I just need to get over it. Why can't I just get over it? And then finally starting to understand why I couldn't get over it is because it wasn't just a mood thing, but it was actually some type of condition that I was suffering with. I started writing the book in a way to understand it a little bit better and have people understand that depression isn't something that you just get over. It takes quite a bit of working through therapy and all that to get over it. So that's what I did. And then fast forward to 2021, I had a few blogs that I had written. One was The Reluctant Bachelorette, the true confessions of a reluctant bachelorette, where I used to write about my dating life and why am I still single? And then when I did get married, I had a blog called Tied the Knot, and which I was talking about, my married life with my husband, but I didn't really resonate that much with that one. And I really wanted to continue blogging, and I wanted something to be meaningful. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm going through this depression. I feel better about talking about it now. And so why don't I just do that? And that's how I started my blog about that. So in a nutshell, I know you asked me to tell you about me. In a nutshell, I'm a writer who happens to also be a school teacher, and I live for writing.
Wonderful. Now, so you had mentioned you're an ELA teacher to middle grade.
Yes.
That's my daughter's in eighth grade right
Okay.
now, and she's she's really loving her ELA teacher right now. They've
That's
been talking about
wonderful.
some short stories that, I she's always struggled with trying to find the books that she likes,
Hmm.
because we are all just big readers.
Yes.
Um, but then her teacher has been able to help her find some books that she's like, this is really good. I like this. This is good. ELA teachers are a favorite of mine. So,
Awesome.
so
Thank you.
so good job. And now, do you teach like literature and grammar and like both kinds?
So no, unfortunately, the school system doesn't focus on grammar anymore, and I don't
Mhm,
understand why. But I try to sneak it into my lessons with the students. They get a little bit confused about it. I try to explain it to them and
mhm,
show them through the text that we read. For instance, just yesterday I had a lesson where one of the characters in a story, she speaks broken English. It's not very good. And
mhm,
so I created a game where I had on the smart board one thing that she says, and they were working in groups, in teams, and they had to write down the correct way to say what she said. Like she said something like "you a lie" instead of "you're a liar." And so their job was to try to figure out what she's trying to say and write it correctly. And they really enjoy that game. So that's how I sneak grammar into my lessons. But for the most part, we do short stories and articles, and we
uh-huh.
talk about the central theme of them. We talk about the different literary techniques and all that that's being used. And I enjoy teaching, and for the most part, my students enjoy it too.
They were reading a novel, and I can't remember the name of it now. She'll kick me because she talks to me all the time about it. But it had a really sad ending,
Oh
and
no.
she said like the whole table she was at with a couple of her friends reading it. She said we all were crying, and
Oh no.
and the teacher realized like, oh, so you got to the end of the book, huh?
Oh,
But
but that's so great that they got such a strong reaction from it. I love that.
yeah, yeah. She taught her also introduced her to a couple of short stories by Ray Bradbury, who's one of my favorite writers.
Okay.
And then this coming, I think starting real soon, they're going to be reading A Christmas Carol, which is one of my all-time favorite books.
I
So,
love A Christmas Carol. And
mm,
see, me, well, okay, so they're in eighth grade, but I teach seventh graders. I feel like
hmm
that book has such, really difficult language for young people to try to comprehend. I
hmm
would be hesitant, or I would be a little, yeah, hesitant to teach it to my middle grade students. But that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Some of the books and things that she's had them read, I thought, well, that's a little. I would have said maybe ninth or tenth grade,
Yeah,
but they're dealing with it. I mean,
nice,
they're digging in. So, uh,
nice.
yeah, I know. Yeah, you are all doing great work. Some of my favorite teachers taught me about literature and reading, and so you all have a soft spot in my heart. So,
Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
you bet. One of the reasons I wanted you to have you on here so we could talk a bit about depression. And so, how has depression impacted your journey in being creative?
I think it has impacted me in a positive way because it's through writing that I'm able to like sort of let these shed these feelings that I go through, the like in my really
Hmm.
intense bouts of depression. Sometimes it is hard for me to write. And so what I used to do, there would be a long time, a long stretch of time between when I would be able to write anything because um, I was just so depressed and so in my head and so overwhelmed with these negative feelings about myself that it just didn't occur to me to just write it down. But I felt that when I did start writing down about writing certain things that I was going through, it was like a superpower. It kind of made me feel so much better. But at the time when I was going through when I was going through serious depression, I
Hmm.
didn't realize that writing could have helped me. And so I stayed away from writing. And so it wasn't until I'm going to say um, about maybe 6 years ago or so when I decided in order to make my novel that much stronger, I need to really dig into, because my main character suffers with depression. And so I know what depression feels like. However,
Mm.
when I'm not going through those bouts of depression, writing about it could be a little stilted, okay, so wait, what was I feeling at the time? So I made it a point to, like, whenever I was like in a really serious bout of depression, I was like, I need to write this down. And even till this day, I even till this day, I'm kind of impressed with the fact that I was aware enough to write down what I was feeling when I was feeling it. But I felt like that was the best way that I could capture it. And so it has helped me in that sense, because when I wrote it down and I reread it, I sort of left it there on the page.
Mm.
I, it kind of helped lift that depressive feeling. And so I feel that not only has writing helped me to experience, or to let go of some of this depressive feelings that I have, but I've been doing a lot of other things like exercising, motivational self-talk, and all this stuff, acupuncture, as you mentioned before. I
Mhm.
I I do a lot of things as a combination to help me with my with the depression, as opposed to taking medication. And I'm one of the lucky ones. My depression isn't as severe as a lot of other people
Mm.
who can't help but take that medication in order for them to start feeling better and do other things that could contribute to their health. So I'm very aware of the fact that I'm privileged in that I don't need medication at this time, because I've learned to combat the depression with writing, exercise, and a whole bunch of other things. So I to turn it full circle, I'm I'm able to use my writing, especially when I started my blog, as a way to really reflect on the things really um, that have really bothered me, to the point where I've kept myself down. I
Mhm.
feel that I have not yet published anything because I didn't believe in myself enough as a writer. And I think that all that was part of the depression that told me that I was less than, told me that, gave me that imposter syndrome, that, "Oh, who do you think you are? You think you can publish something?
Mhm.
You're not that great of a writer. If you were, you would have been published already." So a lot of that negative self-talk has climbed into my mindset for many years. And I'm now just like sort of climbing out of that in order to believe in myself as a writer. And one of the things that I did to combat that was start my blog and really believe in myself as a writer, and really believe that there are people out there who want to read my work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting about that, how depression can rob us of such joy and creativity if we let it. A couple of years ago, it was actually right before the pandemic started. I was diagnosed with anxiety, like just a general anxiety disorder, I think they call it. Not, I mean, again, there are people who deal with it much worse than I do, but
Yeah.
um, that, and then quickly followed, you probably are mildly depressed, and, working with my doctor and finding some things to help. And then of course the pandemic happens, and that helps no one's mental health.
Yes.
And it's been a rough couple of years, but
Yeah.
in all of that, then I started, it was something I always wanted to do, was to start podcasting. And so I finally, thought, okay, well, I'm just going to try it. Just kind of something to do creative that can, in some ways, get me out of my headspace,
Yeah.
and that's turned out to be, and I've said this multiple times, that this has just been one of the most creatively satisfying things I've ever done.
Oh, that's
And even like
awesome.
3 years ago, if you had told me, well, you're going to be talking to total strangers online and recording it and then publishing it for the whole world to I'm like, what? No, 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 no. I can't do that. But yeah, it robs you if you let it. And
Absolutely.
I love the stories like yours, where you kind of take it, and in some sense you're making it work for you,
Yeah.
and you're not letting it beat you, which
Right.
is great. And obviously we know there are some whose cases are so severe that there's more extreme measures that need to be taken. But
Yeah.
sometimes I can be harshest critic, you know. And
I,
so just hearing what you were saying, I'm thinking,
yeah,
yep, been there.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all suffer with that a little bit. Absolutely.
Then we just get in our head, and it's like, okay, I gotta do something here to get out of this. So
Yeah.
yeah, pursuing that creativity, and then, you know, when you make that connection with people, whether, you know, I'm sure on your blog you've probably had people respond and say, you know, oh, this helped me so much, or this inspired me in this way. And I love it when that happens, because it's like I've
Yeah.
made a meaningful connection with someone.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't have the readership that I would like to, but I think that's my own fault because again, my introvertedness gets in the way, and then I don't market myself
Sure.
as I should. But
Hmm.
the few people who there are a few regular readers of my blog who always come back to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you're so brave for sharing this information," and others who are like, "Oh my gosh, I go through this too," and so it just feels good to know
Hmm.
that I know other people who are suffering with this, and now they know that other people are going through this too, and I've given a voice to what it is that they're going through if they have not realized it already. So it feels good about that. I always say, as long as I can touch one or two people, then
Hmm.
I'm doing this for the right reasons. Yeah.
You know, especially in podcasting, and probably with blogging too. It's, you know, you see all these things about you got to have lots of big numbers and download numbers, and I can help you go from 0 to 1 million, and it's like, okay, but you know, 1 million subscribers, whatever, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That kind of stresses me out, you know. But having, like you said, making meaningful connections
Yes,
with your audience through writing, through filming, through whatever, it's such a powerful experience. You know,
absolutely.
it's often can get me out of my funk if I'm in one. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
I had someone ask me once, what do you get out of this? Sharing things about you that are so personal. What do you get out of it?
Hmm.
And I said, I don't know. It just frees me. It makes me feel better about what I'm
Hmm.
going through. And maybe it helps me realize that what I'm going through, it happened for a reason. Maybe I was supposed to touch one or two people out there because they're going through
Hmm.
the same thing. I don't know. It just breathes me. It makes me feel good.
You know, for me, the thing that really helps me is like exercise and getting out, getting sunshine. My wife is always helpful. She's like, "You haven't been out for a walk in the last couple of days. I can tell. Get out there, you know,
Oh,
take the dog, go for a walk." And I'm like, "Okay,
that's
yes,
nice.
ma'am."
Yeah.
she she gets me out the door. So, but yeah, just making, I guess some of it comes back to, you know, being aware of yourself and
Hmm.
exploring those things. What's going to help me best, and,
Hmm.
you know, not to judge yourself, because you know, this is a problem many people experience. And, you know, you said something that I really appreciate about, you know, giving voice to your thoughts or giving voice to your struggle. It's like sometimes I don't have the words to express what I'm feeling, but then I hear
Hmm.
somebody else talk about it and say, that's it right there.
Yeah.
And so whether it's in a story or a blog or a novel or whatever, it's yeah, it just resonates with you, and like, you know, that's it. It's that eureka moment almost.
Yeah. And it's amazing. It's almost a magical feeling, really.
Hmm.
I call it my superpower. I really believe that.
Mm.
It's just I don't know any other way to really explain it. And um I feel so good while I'm writing, and I don't even have to necessarily share it with anyone. That euphoria that comes from me writing something on the page and looking at all the words that I put together, and I'm like, wow, that actually came from me. It feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost like it gives you something tangible, to hold on to and say, look, you know, look what I was able to do.
Yes,
Look what I created, or look what this community inspired me to create. You know, you
yes.
could look at it in all kinds of ways, I
Yeah,
suppose. Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Another question I wanted to ask you, you know, as we talk about mental health and wellness, and especially in the creative areas, but is there something that people will often say that you wish maybe we would just stop either bringing it up, or change our perspective on things concerning mental health?
Oh, wow. To be quite honest with you, I don't think so. Yeah, no, I can't say that there's anything. I've never thought about that question before.
Hmm.
So I'm completely
Okay.
speechless with that.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. It was just a thought I had even not that long ago. I think the conversation still has a lot. We have a ways to go to learn and to to grow in that area
Right,
of being open to talk about things.
right, right.
Yeah, I would say, don't be afraid to talk about these issues. And I know
Mm,
obviously you're not. I mean, you're
yeah.
putting your heart out.
I sure am.
Yeah.
There's some podcasts where they're interviewing me. I start crying and
Mhm.
all of this, and I'm like, it's all good. It is what it is. And I even it's interesting because when you asked me that question about is there anything that you wish that I wish that people didn't say or whatever, I thought about uh how we need to normalize, and you mentioned something about normalizing that we need to
Mhm.
talk more about mental health issues. And even with my students, like sometimes if it comes out that I get depressed or whatever, I'll mention it. I'll mention it like it's not a big deal, like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I was really depressed one day and this is what I did. And I talk to them about it like that because I want them to understand that, okay, I'm a teacher, I'm a human just like you, and I go through my moments. And there are times when I tell my students, when you do these things, it's not nice. It just makes me feel bad. And I think that if we talk like that and we understand where we're all coming from, some of us get depressed more than others. Some of us go through these bouts, and there's nothing shameful about it. It is what it is, and maybe if we could talk about it, that's great too. But there's nothing shameful about it, and maybe that's what I would like people to know.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And then I find the written word to be such a powerful tool for that,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, that you're able to get your thoughts down. Sometimes then just reading them back, you see things maybe you didn't you didn't know
Yes.
about yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's so
Like,
true.
yeah. Like whether, but I'm sure being self-centered here or maybe, no, you know what, I'm really being too hard on myself here,
Yeah.
kind of somewhere in between even. It's, yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book you have written and that you're wanting to get published?
Sure. It's so the main character, her name is Mia Hill. She's quite different from me in that she has already um i- i- she's already accomplished what she wanted to in her professional career, but she's looking to move forward. She's an executive in a publishing company, magazine publishing, and she has these feelings of depression. She goes to therapy. It's sort of in a way like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I don't really believe that this will help. And she has issues with her father and her sister. She's estranged from them, and her mother has passed away the year before, and they buried her. And
Mm,
she didn't get along well with her mother. And as the book goes along, we understand that she these depressive feelings come from the way that her mother had treated her when she was alive.
mm,
And her mother had gifted to her this painting that she really resonates with, but she never put it up because it was something from her mother, and her mother, every time she thinks about her mother, she thinks negatively. And so the day that she decides to put it up, she noticed a note inside the frame, and it's a note from her mother saying, "I'm sorry for the way that I treated you. If you want to understand where I was coming from, please find the box."
mm,
And now she's on a quest to find this box to learn more about her mother. And as the story goes on, and she learns more about her mother through her father, and then finally she finds what it is that she's looking for. She goes through this journey of forgiving her mother, understanding why her mother went through what she went through, and sort of lifting herself out of her depression. Oh, it's just so good.
mm, mm.
It's just so good.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. Yeah. So, any publishers out there, you gotta talk to this lady here, okay?
Yeah.
That sounds like a story we need to read.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much for that. I'm thinking, okay, so I sent five because it's recommended to send like just a few query letters out, just in case you need to revamp your query letter.
Mhm.
You don't send it out to everybody. but I haven't heard anything. And so I'm like, well, maybe I need to speak to a book coach. Maybe there's something in my novel that I need to fix. So I'm like, even though I really feel like this is it, I'm finally done with this, and I I'm just like, if there's something in the novel that still needs to be fixed, I'm like willing to fix it, because I really feel that it's a very good story, important message, and I just love it, and I do want to bring it out there, and I feel like if there is a way that I can make it better so that publishers do take it on, a literary agent can sign me up, I'm just like, I'm all for it.
So since you're still relatively new in the journey to publication, I mean, you're
Mhm.
a blogger, you've had several, but in that publication, I know some of the things you've shared already, but in addition to that, maybe to speak to somebody else who might be in your same position right now, how would you encourage them?
I would say that, I listen to a lot of podcasts about writing, and I believe them when they say keep at it. Your message is important. I believe them when they say, if something's not working, find somebody to help you. That's why I was like, I'll change it, or not change it, but I'll improve it if I need to. For somebody who's still working on it and who feels like they're not getting anywhere, nobody is grabbing their book, no literary agent is coming to them. I'm gonna do what I'm doing. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna keep at it. I'm not giving up, and I don't think you should give up. And you know what? In this day and age, there are a lot of people who are self-publishing and are very, very successful with that. Me
Mhm.
personally, I have a hard time promoting my blog. So I just feel like I need that help when it comes to promoting a book. So that's why I want to
Sure.
go to the traditional route. But I mean, if you feel that you can do the self-publishing route and you could do a good job of it, do it. I just don't think that giving up is an option. So that's what I'm
Mm.
going to say.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And really in anything, that's
Yeah.
good advice. Yeah. Yeah. I've spoken to both kinds of authors, traditionally published and self-published. And
Okay.
I think both, they would all say, just find what works best for you,
Yeah.
because when you self-publish, you're pretty much the whole publishing industry, you got to promote yourself. You got to do marketing. You've got to do find editors and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, but some people just thrive on that. And, I
Yeah.
say good for them, but
Yes, I know. I wish I was like that. I wish I was
yeah,
like, I got this, but I'm not, and I'm okay with that too.
yeah, yeah. I am the master of the unfinished to-do list,
Oh yeah.
So even, basically I do that with my podcasts and, I just kind of do it when I am in the mood to.
Mhm.
And, I had some goals to get some stuff edited, and then I'm like, I don't really want to. Okay, I'll do something else. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes that comes back and bites you in the rear end. But
That's funny.
yeah, but so yeah, I want to, just echo what you said, to keep at it, because I've had the privilege of talking to some people that are just beginning their publication journey, and their books are so good. I mean, they could be held up against what's being published in mainstream publishing, but
Hmm.
whether it's just that the market is so oversaturated or whatever, sometimes these things get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
But keep at it, because you'll find your audience.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that, and
Yeah.
have experienced that too on a different way, but with through podcasting and
Yes.
all that. You find your people.
Yeah. I believe in that too. I certainly do.
What's the next step then for you on your journey right now? I know you're right in the middle of trying to find a publisher. Is that kind of where you're focused?
That's where I'm focused right now. And also I find myself doing a lot of podcast interviews. So that takes up some time because I do prepare for it a little bit. I make sure that I listen to at least one episode, with whatever podcast is that I'm going on. And then I'm already following you on Instagram. So I made sure to do that. And I also, have you ever heard of Clubhouse?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay,
think
so
so.
it's that app on the phone where, you go onto Clubhouse, and then there are what are called rooms, and people have discussions about like anything and everything under the sun. And
Mhm.
somebody recruited me to be like, well, why don't you do a room on my clubhouse, in my clubhouse room, where you talk about depression every week. So every Saturday at 11 o'clock, I open up a room where I talk about different mental health issues. So one time we talked about, tomorrow we're going to talk about obsessive compulsive disorder. One time I talked about agoraphobia. I talk, it's just different things. And I find myself working on that every week. And I find that really, really satisfying, because I'm learning about different mental health issues, because I have to do a little bit of research for each of them. So I do that on a weekly basis. And also I am working on a new novel about a pair of twins who go on a journey of understanding who they are, where they come from in terms of their heritage. They're Haitian, they're young Haitian, they're a pair of twins. And these twins are like so alike that they almost lose their own identities within each other. And it's going to be so interesting. It's going to be so good. So that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, awesome. Now, did I see that you're a twin yourself? Or
Yes, I
okay,
am a twin. I'm a fraternal twin. We're similar, but we're also very different. My sister is much more outgoing than I am, and I'm trying to be more out there. But yes, we are twins. We're very close.
yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, my sister and I, we're not twins at all, but yeah, we have a good relationship,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, I can remember my dad when we'd pick on each other. My dad would say, my sister and I are probably best friends, and he said someday you're gonna either be your sister's best friend or you're gonna wish you had. And I'm like, no, never. She's awful. She smells, whatever. And sure enough, my dad was right. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
so
Yeah.
Dad, this is for posterity here. You were right. But yeah, yeah, it's good. Good families can be, well, they can be a struggle like anything, but
Yeah.
having your family, that's good.
Oh, I believe in my family. I love my family.
Yeah, yeah. And then if folks want to find you online, again, could you just share some websites, or where would be the best place to find you?
Sure. My Instagram account, that's where I'm on usually. It's Cathy underscore Marie and the number one. That's my tag on Instagram. And I'm on Facebook as Cathy Jean-Francois. And but yeah, if you go on my Instagram, then I have a link tree and it goes to all the places
Hmm.
where somebody can reach me.
Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? I almost did forget a question. This is the reason why I have anybody on, but
Okay, I'm
I
ready.
always looking for book recommendations. So, do you have a favorite book, and
Oh.
what have you been reading lately that you'd want to recommend?
So I have been, so in the interest of my new novel that's about pair of twin sisters. I searched up books about twins, right? Or not
Mhm.
books, novels that feature twins. And there's
Mhm.
one book called The Good Sister. I wrote it down. The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. Oh my gosh, that one was so good. Um, they're fraternal twins, just like my sister and myself,
Mhm.
but they have an interesting dynamic where one of them she suffers from like extrasensory overload, like too much noise and or whatever, and then therefore her sister feels like she needs to protect her for that. But then they have such an interesting relationship, and especially when one of them starts dating someone, and how that sort of breaks that relationship apart. So good. It was so good. And I read another book about a few months ago called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That one
Hmm.
was so good, by V.E. Schwab. It's about this woman who made a deal with the devil, and she wanted to escape, being forced to marry or something, and the devil gave her the, like, and told her, okay, so now it will act like you were never born, and everywhere she goes, nobody knows who she is. Even her parents didn't know who she was, and even if she spent the day talking to somebody, the next day they would not know who she is. So she had to live the next few centuries of her life like that. It was so
Hmm.
good,
Wow.
so good, and it was written like poetry. It was beautifully written.
Awesome. Yeah, those sound good. Well, I like to add to my TBR list, so those are
Yes.
going on
All right. All
for
right.
sure. Yeah. I want to thank you for coming on. It's a joy to talk to you, and we'll be rooting for you for sure to get that book published. So,
Thank you, Art. I really appreciate that. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was awesome.
yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah. So thanks for coming on. And again, when you get published, let me know. We'll have you back on for sure.
Okay.
So,
Oh, yay. All right. Definitely, I will.
all
Definitely. Thank
right.
you.
All right. Well, again, you can follow her. I'll have the links for Cathy's website in the show notes so everyone can check out your blog and get to know you through that. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.